My goodness, Laura. Where is she? I can't talk. So beautiful. We are so lucky to have you. So before our bone story, let's do a little centering. As the song called us to, we have an opportunity, and in any moment, in any given time, we can turn and look back on ourselves, on our soul. So I invite you just to close your eyes for a minute again and turn this time. Your meta-consciousness now is looking at you, turning your attention on yourself, on the state of your soul, whatever that might be, with no judgment, just as we would not judge anyone else. We are just being here as we are, with all of our grief and all of life that continues. And just see what happens as you notice yourself. As you turn inward. See what you notice about your state of emotion, your state of thinking. As you turn inward as a witness to your own life. Your own well-being. Your own truth, your own authenticity. And now I invite a deep breath. You let it out with a sigh. Let's do that again. There's something about letting that sigh out that's so rich. And now for our bone story.
My name is Ray Blaisdell. My pronouns are they, them, and our story today is familiar to many. It starts at a time when the land is in perpetual growth and harvest. Growth and harvest, there's so much abundance, and Demeter, the mother, is happy with her work of helping the crops and plants to grow. But she is most happy with her daughter, Kore, who is one of these people that everyone just loves. She brings joy wherever she goes, beloved by all. She has such strength and curiosity and wonder and compassion that with which she sees everyone and everything she meets. As the maiden Kore grows, she has many who wish to marry her. But her mother keeps her close and discourages any such relationships in a way that seems to be a bit controlling as time goes on. The maiden, however, is pleased simply to pursue her own interests, to be in a meadow or sitting by a spring, especially those where she can watch the swallows swoop and dive to catch insects at dawn and dusk. She is one of those people who falls in love with the world wherever she looks, appreciating its many ways of being. Swiftly dives the little swallow through the skies, the moths to follow, playing, singing in the sun at dusk and when the day's begun. While the mother is keeping the suitors away and Kore is enjoying the wonders of the world, the men in power have other things in mind. The unseen, Hades himself, seeks permission to marry the maiden from the sky father, Zeus. And being that Zeus is her father, and women have few rights in this place and time, neither women are consulted. Hades, of course, is lord of the underworld, a realm separated from Olympus and the earth. He is also Zeus's brother, and easily gets permission to take and wed the maiden. Soon after their decision, Demeter is tending her work, and Kore is enjoying the day near a favorite spring with a cliff nearby and some trees. The swallows are many here, mending and building nests with grasses and stealthily snatching insects. But suddenly, the birds stop their flight, clinging to branches and even to the cliff face. She feels a rumbling in the earth, and suddenly the ground opens up, mud sucking into a great sinkhole where the spring was. She screams, and the earth is falling in on itself. But then, out of the sinkhole rises a black chariot with gleaming black stallions and a regal but unearthly Hades at the reins. To see the unseen is to be changed forever. He reaches down, grabbing the maiden and hoisting her into the chariot, wheeling around back into the sinkhole and the dark earth. The ground behind them bubbles up to the surface, filling the hole once more with a gentle spring. To the earth the swallows sweep, calling soil to head and beak to seek the maid who just was there, but now has vanished from the air. The swallows, having seen the events, swoop and dive down to the mud, digging their beaks into the earth, attempting to reach the beloved maiden. Her attendants come running, having heard her scream and felt the earth moving, but all that is there are the swallows, digging up mud and casting it onto their nests, rubbing their beaks and shaking the mud off, then returning for more mud, trying to dig down to her. And still some swallows do this, building their nests of mud along cliffs and overhangs. Demeter is devastated by her daughter's disappearance. Zeus is the only one who knows the maiden was promised in marriage at all, and Hades remains unseen. The mother begins a search through the whole of the world, asking everyone if they have seen the maiden or could know what happened to her. Finally, having asked everyone of Earth and Olympus, she goes to Hecate. An old goddess, Hecate is one of few who can travel freely between the earth and underworld, and is known for her help to mothers and those at a crossroads. Hecate suggests Demeter asks the sun, Helios, since he was riding by at the time and surely saw something. So the mother asks him, and he tells her that he saw the earth open up and Hades take the maiden with him. Of course, these men don't think to tell anybody when, they see something. Demeter, now enraged, goes to Zeus and demand and plead for his help to get her back. But coming back from the underworld is not something even Zeus can simply command. Death is not somewhere most return from in the same form. But when Demeter's request is denied, with the audacity of claiming he doesn't have jurisdiction in his brother's realm now that she's there, she protests by refusing to do her work. In not much time, the crops stop growing, plants stop fruiting, the animals and people begin to suffer and die. People become angry with the gods and afraid. We can all imagine what that looks like. Meanwhile, in the underworld, the maiden, having learned of her father's agreement to this entire situation and refusing to simply accept her treatment, has been on a hunger strike. Now, she's a goddess, so she can't really die, but, they can suffer, if you know anything about Greek mythology. So she's refusing all food and grieves, uncertain anything will actually change. Hades' attempts at reassurance and explanations are also unwelcome, only thickening the blanket of sorrow and betrayal she feels. What is touching to the maiden, however, are the residents of the underworld. She finds herself curious and in wonder at the many kinds of people and beings in the underworld and how mistreated so many have been. This is her nature, after all, to be compassionate and loving, to bring wonder and curiosity and appreciation with her everywhere, even here. The pressure is mounting now from Earth and underworld. Finally, Zeus and Hades agree to a deal. If the maiden has eaten no food in the underworld, then all present ties there will be released. Demeter calls Hecate's light to walk the path of dark and blight, to find the maiden's resting place, away from living and all grace, but she is not now as she went, and not quite ready for ascent. When Hecate sees the young woman thoughtful, but not immediately eager to leave the underworld, she sits and asks about her time here. The young woman says that she misses the meadows and the springs of the earth, the swallows and the sun, but she is happy to have met the people and creatures of the underworld, and she feels she will miss them if she leaves. Neither expectation from Hades nor Demeter feels right anymore. Hecate nods and asks, if no one, visible or invisible, seen or unseen, of earth or underworld, forced you to do or be anything, who would you be? Surprised, she says that when she dreams here, she sees strange patterns of new life that ends in death over and over, and somehow she is part of it. She is greeting the new life all at once, with new plants all bursting from cold and darkness, and new swallows on the cliffside coming from dark earthen nests. And then she is greeting the cold and the newly dead, no matter who they are or what they believe or how much they paid for the god's favor. And in her dreams, they call her a name of beginnings and endings, Persephone. That is who she would be. Hecate nods. She walks to a plate of pomegranate seeds, takes 12, and sets them before the young woman. Persephone looks at the seeds and at Hecate, surprised, but then, understanding, she takes some, and she follows Hecate to the meeting of the gods. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Boy, all these songs and all of these old myths really have some wisdom for us right now, don't they? Yeah. So as I said, we're going to be exploring pluralism today as one of our 6 values that have been lifted up as core values for us as Unitarian Universalists in the 21st century. Excuse me. So Friday afternoon, a young Lyft driver was taking me to the car mechanic to round up my Subaru, named Bluebird, who had just had some work done. And when the driver found out that I was a retired minister, she let me know that she was attending Charis Bible College in Woodland Park. And of course, we got to talking about our chosen faiths. She, evangelical Christianity, and me, Unitarian Universalism. How could we resist? She asked me how I first found the UU Church, and I told her of the experience of living through Amendment 2 here in Colorado Springs, which was the first anti-gay initiative that went all the way to the Supreme Court, thanks to our resistance. And it eventually was overturned. But at that time, I was looking for a faith that would actually lift queer people up and not decimate them and tear them down. And the day I walked into All Souls Church, whatever service was happening that morning, they sang Spirit of Life, and I just began to weep. I knew I had found my spiritual home. The driver, too, spoke of the fulfillment in finding a path to devote herself to. She said she had explored many faiths, but had not found the deep connection with Jesus she was now experiencing in Christianity. God is one, she said, and it's nice knowing I'm following the one true path. And I said, you know, it certainly sounds like you have found the right religion for you. And I really meant it. I wasn't being sarcastic. And she nodded, and I responded by saying, you know, I too believe that the animating force of life is one that many call God, but it's a unity. And actually, I believe that that source is the same to all people, no matter what we call it, no matter what name we've given it. And actually, that source of life, that force of life is equally available to all people, no matter who we are. And the two of us we were enjoying our conversation so much, we lingered in her car for a while her other Lyft ride was pinging her. And she finally just said, "I gotta go." And there certainly was some tension in our conversation, but I want to say there was also curiosity and appreciation, and it was respectful. And she turned to me and she said, "We need these kind of conversations." "Yes," I said, "we do." And our goodbye felt like an actual blessing to one another. And once again, I left this conversation, as I have so many times, wondering, what is that hoped-for comfort and security derived from the certainty of knowing the one true God or the one true path? And it turns out uncertainty is pretty uncomfortable for probably 9/10 of the people. I left that conversation knowing how very much our theology matters, because it shapes our life choices, our opinions, our public discourse. Our theologies have consequences for our country and the world. Basically, I think that pluralism is a liberal value. Pluralism means that you value all voices and hold a place for all people at the table. And pluralism inherently flies in the face of dominionism, which advocates one perspective to the exclusion of all else. One God, one way of thinking, one kind of human superior to another, and hence in our public square, one ruler and one country that believes itself superior to all others. There's a reason that Trump welcomed the fundamentalist Christians into his fold, or him into their fold, both ways, right? Their theology makes it so that they are willing to sacrifice just about anything for someone who is perceived as an all-powerful, omnipotent, God-chosen leader who will rescue everything. And now these strong, well-planned efforts by some to re-embed a singular perspective and disenfranchise enough people who disagree with them so that dominion succeeds have been working their way into every branch and every level of government and society, at least for the past 40 years. Those efforts appear to be culminating in the truly criminal situations we presently find ourselves in. I don't have to tell you this, but it's nice to say it out loud. So, truth is, I believe that pluralism is so much harder than dominion. That's why it's tough. It takes so much soul to live into it. The Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution actually state very clearly freedom of religion, the right of conscience, and the worth and dignity of every person. And these are beautiful sentiments of pluralism, of enfranchisement. Everybody belongs, everybody has value, everybody has a voice, and everybody votes. Yet, my friends, these were spiritual values that the forefathers of this country held in tension with the reality of their own lives. Even as they were claiming and warring for their own freedom outside of a monarch and kingdom rule, they were also slave-holding and hoarding indigenous lands as their own. Even as these men valued the women in their lives, they suppressed women's votes, women's minds, women's creativity. These mostly wealthy, mostly white Euro male founders also suppressed the legitimate livelihood and vote of Black and brown people, as well as poor white men. In the earliest days of our republic, I'm sure you know that if you did not own property, you could not vote. And even as they were claiming freedom of religious belief and the right of conscience, it's true that the actual legal separation of church and state didn't happen right away. It happened a little bit later on. These men were struggling to create something new, when all they understood in their bones was monarchy and dominion. That had been their only lived experience. Ultimately, I believe that until we can come to terms with that base hypocrisy that was embedded in the general intellectual, moral, and cultural climate at the founding of this country, we will not find a way to reconcile and heal that deep primary wound. I see your nod. Yes, ma'am, she says. Yes, ma'am. We will continue to struggle to ever create something equitable, inclusive, balanced, and sustainable. We have to be able to talk about this. We have life experience that tells us pluralism is much, much harder than dominionism. Pluralism, I'll say it again, takes so much soul. Yes, there were eras in which we succeeded in the efforts to move toward a more pluralistic, equitable, and inclusive culture. Meanwhile, MAGA leadership in the United States has almost completely moved away from those original constitutional mandates, and almost daily, it seems, is actually breaking the law somehow to assert their power. And so, you know, when I'm struggling, I often think back to our progressive forebears, our ancestors, in every Unitarian Universalist era of our faith. At great risk to themselves, they've taken up public moral initiatives and positions on issues of consequence, such as religious freedom, abolition and anti-slavery, women's suffrage, Black civil rights, and most recently, the right to marry and full inclusion in our system for queer and trans folks. I think about the current religious claims on controversial issues such as reproductive rights, stem cell research, the death penalty, teaching evolution, yada, 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 on it goes. Theology matters in the public square. It has consequences. Friday night, David Brooks, the Canadian-born American book author and political and cultural commentator on PBS, said that at base, America is pluralistic, he determined. He said, Americans love pluralism, including the Republicans. He said, trade isn't just about goods, it's about the exchange between people, it's about the exchange of ideas. All dynamic societies are open societies, are crossover societies, or crossroad societies, excuse me. Maybe crossover, crossroad, considering our myth, right? Maybe. America used to be the ultimate crossroad society, he said. And discussion with the news anchors ensued about how the United States became the leader opening worldwide trade after World War II, and now here we are imploding into a self-centered America First mess. Did I say that pluralism is much, much harder than dominionism? That it takes so much soul? When I was a child, the US was referred to as a giant melting pot. Remember? It was a consciousness that saw us all assimilating into one worldview. But whose worldview? And after the civil rights movement, American consciousness grew to embrace the reality that our nation was a great variety of people and mix of cultures and beliefs, and that we could not just devolve into one big glob of humanity. I think of the glob of cheese in like fondue, right? All of us just globbing together. So we began to think of our country as a tossed salad. All the different people and cultures tossed together to create something yummy and enjoyable, but each salad item, each people retaining their unique identity. Other metaphors that have been used, because our souls like image and picture, right? Other metaphors that are used, many trails lead up to the same mountaintop, different paths leading to the same goal or life pinnacle. Or maybe humanity is a prism or a stained glass window that when the light shows through, it emanates beauty of all this different color. Or maybe we're a patchwork quilt, or a blended family, or maybe we're a crossroads society. 20 years ago when I was in seminary, we were talking about Unitarian Universalism being the world's best experiment in religious pluralism. We were so proud at that time on any given day you could find Buddhists, Jews, Wiccans, and even agnostics, humanists, and atheists in our congregation. By the way, as it turns out, you don't have to believe in a God to have a spiritual life. Thank you. I like all the little feedback I get, by the way. It's fun. And now in 2025, pluralism is so important to UUs that it's one of our explicitly stated values, one of 6 crucial aspects that we name centered in love and placed on our altar in this world. Can we see that again? There it is. Right? One of 6 crucial aspects centered in love. It turns out that love is stronger when it's intersectional, meaning all the people, all the colors, all the shapes, all the sizes, all the sexualities, all the identities, all the genders. Love is stronger when it's intersectional. But how do we actually get there? How do we actually get to a place where pluralism is a guiding value once again in our country? Obama came out yesterday and saying, you all got to do this. You all have to do it. So we can learn from our maiden, Corey, in Ray's Bone story, who does 2 things when she feels in a world of trouble. She connects and begins to identify with who she inherently is in her deepest capital S self, and looks for that same integrity in others. Even in the underworld, she enjoys meeting those folks. She is able to see that life happens, and 2, she does those 2 things. She turns inward, and she really begins to look at herself and other people, other beings. And then she's able to see that life happens in large cycles and strange patterns, as the myth says, which include destruction and decline and a journey into the unknown just before rebirth. Corey is said to be one who inherently falls in love with the world wherever she looks, appreciating its many ways of being. We, like she, can discover that it's our deepest nature as well to be compassionate and loving and bring wonder and curiosity and appreciation with us everywhere, just like with the little Lyft driver, the young Lyft driver I was talking to. Right? And just brought it. So did she. And there we were in curiosity and exchange of ideas. But we can bring that even and especially in places of hell. Right? We have to bring it in times of hell. And we're in hellish times. Hate to inform you, but we're there. Like Corey, we can begin to understand the strange reality of the underworld, that sometimes new life can only only arise when what has become distorted, twisted, and skewed is exposed. How surprised have we all of us liberals, been to see the somewhat hidden shadows of our culture rise up in all their glory to be seen more clearly than ever before. But this is a good thing. This is a good thing, because we can see it. There it is. We know where it is. We can point to it. And I believe that the evil that we are seeing now is rising to prominence in such a way that we as a collective will finally be able to say an emphatic no. No, thank you. No to all of those ill-shapen values that were embedded in our culture from the day one, from the beginning. We can be like Corey, who begins to see and trust the strange cycle that we are in of new life that is going to arise from this horrific death that we are experiencing. And we're not there yet. We haven't died yet. It's coming. It's gonna die. Something's gonna die. And hopefully not a bunch of people in the process, but people have already died, right? We can't go through a destruction cycle without experiencing some destruction. But that's part of this larger life cycle that we have to learn to see. And I do want to say that, death is a natural process of life, and that's the natural destruction that comes. There's also this unnatural destruction that we're going through right now at the hands of someone committing evil. Of many people committing evil. So there is a difference there, but the end result in some ways is the same. When something is destroyed, then we're ready to come up the other side of that circle again in rebirth. And we're the ones of us who are left, I don't know who's gonna be here when that happens, but whoever's left, we are the rebuilders. And we have to be able to see that far into the cycle to withstand what we're going through. And we can pray like one of my favorite music duos, Ma Muse, they have this beautiful new song out. I don't know the title, I can't find the title of it, but just Google them. And they exclaim in their new song, "Good God, if it's the end of the world, tell me it's also a beginning." We are a crossroad nation, and my friends, we are at a crossroads. A deep spiritual crossroads. As our United States Representative Texan Jasmine Crockett said this week, this is a moral moment. This is not about left or right. This is about right or wrong. Love her. Love her. So each moment now is a chance for each of us to reaffirm and embody the moral influence of our liberal religious values in society. In particular, we must continue to uphold this value of pluralism in the midst of dominionism. This is our society. Then and only then will we too be called by a new name that means both growth and harvest, right? You get through the rebirth and then all of a sudden there's growth and then there's harvest. And we will have a new name, a new identity as a country. Then and only then will we be certain in our knowing that we have the capacity to march the marches, have the conversations, and place our good on an altar in someone's heart. Each day we come to this altar and light this chalice to strengthen our resolve to just do that out in the world, to light this chalice and place it on this altar of the person that's sitting in front of us, and let them place their gift on ours, even the passing Lyft driver. So I'd like to end by reciting a poem written this past Friday by my UU ministry colleague, Lynn Unger. And you can find her poetry, she's fabulous, at Lynn, LYNNUNGAR.com. And this poem is entitled April 5th, for yesterday. How many of you went to the march? Yeah, woo! Whoop, woo! There we go. Nice. Good job. And she says this: I don't know how all of this turns out, and neither do you. But I do have to confess that it doesn't look good. I wish we were headed for a picnic or a waltz in the park. I wish we were not ruled by broken men who want to damage everything that they cannot possess. I wish I could tell you what we do now. I wish I could tell you what we do now. The street is littered with petals of the cherries that bloomed before the big wind came. Tonight there will be frost and the tender buds will burn. But still, the woods are unfolding into green, and just outside my door, some frog is bellowing for all it's worth. Who knows what will happen next? All I can tell you is the fields are ablaze with dandelions who have never known the meaning of defeat. So may we be a men, a women, a people. Thank you for listening.
Love carries me through life and death to endless joy.
So as we leave this sacred time that we have co-created together, this is our congregation, our worship, rooted in love, and especially expressed in our value of pluralism. We hope this service filled you with something nourishing, beneficial, or connective. May you go out finding ways to place your love on the altar of the world, on the altar of someone else's heart, on the altar of someone else's circumstances. And may you go finding ways to let others place their love in you. Finding yourself more open to seeing and feeling the ways that love is coming to you. Let us all go in peace. Let us find the beginnings in endings, and let us go singing.
A bridge that winds may shake, yet not